Hello everyone and welcome to my Metru official channel. When Nina finds out the truth about Sasha's child, what will she do? The surprising fact that Michael Corinthos is truly the father of Sasha Gilmore Corbin's child may be revealed by Nina Reeves. Will she have the guts to tell Willow Corinthos, though, if she finds out? Jason Morgan is widely believed to be Sasha's child. The town's gossip mill is currently ablaze with rumors that Sasha's child is the product of a liaison with Jason Morgan rather than Michael. Since it deflects attention from Michael, Sasha is more than happy to let everyone accept the facade. A ticking time bomb, however, is the truth about the paternity secret. Jason and Sasha's charade will eventually fall apart. One could easily imagine Nina inadvertently listening in on a conversation between Sasha and Jason in which she thanks him for assuming the role of her child's adoptive father. Nina might hear what was being said. A moment filled with the weight of unsaid facts was glimpsed by Nina as Sasha revealed her secret liaison with Michael. A tangled web of emotions would be created as Nina would be confronted with this news, a tasty bit of drama. Due to the complexity of the situation, Nina is caught up in a maelstrom of competing allegiances. On the one hand, her love for Sasha makes her reluctant to reveal the information that would ruin her friend's life. Sasha undoubtedly contributed to Michael's betrayal of Willow, but can Nina really hold it against him given that she had an affair with Drew Quartermain? Sasha is aware of Nina and Drew. Fans of GH cannot ignore the fact that Sasha is fully aware of Drew's previous involvement with Nina. Cody Bell confronted Drew in the pub after seeing him kiss Willow during a liaison with her mother, thanks to Sasha's revelation. In the event that Nina decides to play hardball, this implies that Sasha has some secrets of her own. If Nina and Sasha begin threatening each other, their friendship may be in jeopardy. Sasha can threaten to divulge her own romance with Drew and jeopardize Nina's friendship with Willow if Nina dares to reveal the truth about Michael's pregnancy. Talking about forgiveness is cheap, and Nina and Sasha's relationship might end. Many people talk about how Nina is tolerant of Sasha's past transgressions, they genuinely care about one another, yet their relationship may suffer as a result of the secrets they are keeping. Regardless of the consequences, Nina might discover Sasha's true baby daddy and decide to come clean. She might believe that by disclosing this information, Sasha would lose the advantage and let Willow keep her kids and come clean about her romance with Drew. If Nina ever finds herself in a difficult circumstance like this, it will be interesting to watch how she responds. Watch to see if Nina finds out Sasha's secret, as predictions indicate that she will experience additional upheaval. Elizabeth is seriously endangered. Elizabeth is seriously endangered. A comprehensive examination of danger in literature and media. From Gothic literature to contemporary soap operas and legal thrillers, the theme of a character named Elizabeth confronting deadly jeopardy is recurrent in many genres. This theme thread provides a wealth of material for interpretation as it intertwines stories of social injustice, retaliation, loneliness, and moral quandaries. Here, we examine three different versions of Elizabeth in Grave Danger, based on James Grapando's legal thriller Grave Danger, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and the ABC soap opera General Hospital, while examining their similarities and differences. 1. In Frankenstein, Elizabeth Lavenza is a tragic victim of ambition and retaliation. Elizabeth Lavenza, the adoptive sister and fiancée of Victor Frankenstein in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, is a representation of purity and harmony in the home. But Victor's arrogance is inextricably linked to her destiny. Elizabeth's death is hinted to in Chapter 5 by Victor's nightmare, in which he kisses her and she turns into his mother's corpse, signifying the disastrous results of his fixation with Reanimation 5. This dream emphasizes the novel's subject of broken family ties and the certainty of disaster brought on by unbridled ambition. Elizabeth's danger becomes real by Chapter 23. Elizabeth is left exposed on their wedding night by Victor, who is terrified that the creature would attack him. But after suffering rejection and loneliness, the creature seeks poetic revenge by killing Elizabeth in order to torture Victor in the same way. A grin was on the monster's face, he seemed to jeer, as he pointed towards my wife's corpse with his fiendish finger, wrote Shelley. Elizabeth's passing reveals Victor's ultimate error, his inability to foresee the consequences of leaving his creature behind, while this act solidifies the creature's dual roles as a monster and a tragic person. The novel's criticism of patriarchal carelessness is also reflected in her death. Elizabeth, like other female characters, is a helpless victim whose agency is taken away by male choices. Here, themes of retaliation and loneliness predominate. The distinction between creator and creation is blurred by Victor's eventual insanity and pointless pursuit for vengeance, which parallels the creature's own path. Thus, Elizabeth's passing serves as a trigger for recurring acts of violence, emphasizing Shelley's caution about the perils of emotional detachment and scientific overreach. 51. 2. Elizabeth Weber in General Hospital, the tense stakes of a contemporary soap opera. A 2025 plotline featuring the evil Cyrus Renaud puts nurse Elizabeth Weber in grave jeopardy in ABC's venerable soap series General Hospital. Elizabeth and her ex-husband Lucky Spencer examine Cyrus, a volunteer at the Turning Woods Care Facility, after Elizabeth was suspended from her job for being wrongfully implicated in patient fatalities connected to digitalis poisoning. Cyrus retaliates after their investigation indicates that he was involved in several murders, including that of Sam McCall and Officer Dex Heller. When Cyrus, who has been barred from General Hospital, approaches Elizabeth at Charlie's pub, the tension increases. Cyrus becomes even more enraged after a meeting with Sam's father, Jason Morgan, and son, Danny Morgan. As the story reaches its climax, Cyrus can be seen looking through a window at Elizabeth dancing with Lucky, his enraged expression indicating that she is his next target. The plot focuses on themes of persecution, moral ambiguity, and familial loyalty, even though soap opera standards imply Elizabeth might live. This storyline is similar to Frankenstein's examination of retribution, but it takes a modern approach by showing that Elizabeth Weber's threat comes from institutional corruption and personal grudges rather than from the carelessness of a creator. Similar to Victor's creature, Cyrus is a disenfranchised person, a formerly incarcerated individual who now volunteers, whose behavior is a result of social rejection. However, General Hospital presents Elizabeth as an active investigator, reclaiming agency in a story that criticizes institutional shortcomings in law enforcement and healthcare, in contrast to Shelley's tragedy. 3. Serious Danger, a legal drama at the crossroads of parenting and politics. The 19th volume in the Jack Switek series, James Grapando's Grave Danger, focuses on a custody dispute with global ramifications. Although there isn't a major Elizabeth character in this story, the title's thematic resonance with Grave Danger begs for comparison. In the book, Jack Switek, a Miami lawyer, defends Zara Bazi, an Iranian woman who is suspected of abducting her niece Yasmin in order to shield her from Iran's morality police. The case puts Jack and his FBI agent wife, Andy Henning, at odds, straining their marriage, and it seems possible that Zara's sister, Ava, was killed for opposing hijab rules. Despite Elizabeth's absence, the novel's examination of parental sacrifice and female discrimination is similar to Elizabeth Lavenza's symbolic position in Frankenstein. Like Elizabeth's, Ava's off-screen demise highlights how vulnerable women are in patriarchal societies. In the meantime, Victor's unfulfilled duty to his creature and Zara's struggle to retain Yasmin in the United States both raise the questions of who should be protected and at what cost. In contrast to Shelley's Gothic fatalism, Grapando's use of the Hague Convention adds legal intricacy while reflecting its criticism of societal neglect. Synthesis, similar and dissimilar. Marginalization and isolation. Both Cyrus Renaud and Victor's creature experience social rejection, which leads to their violent acts. Zara Bazi and Elizabeth Lavenza, on the other hand, suffer as a result of the decisions made by others, underscoring the unintended consequences of corruption and ego. The destructive cycle of revenge. The creature and Cyrus continue to use violence in an attempt to get revenge on people they hold responsible for their misery. Elizabeth Weber and Jack Switek, on the other hand, use rather different strategies to turn their hardships into justice. Agency and gender. Zara's disobedience of Iranian law and Elizabeth Weber's investigative work stand in stark contrast to Elizabeth Lavenza's meekness. From Shelley's Romantic era to Grapando's contemporary legal environment, each story captures the attitudes of its day on women's autonomy. Ethical and moral conundrums. Cyrus's manipulation of healthcare systems, Jack's struggle between marital fidelity and legal obligation, and Victor's desertion of the creature all call into question the limits of accountability and morality. Elizabeth Webber is cornered by Cyrus Renaud. Elizabeth Webber and Police Commissioner Anna Devane are shown conversing in this week's new General Hospital promo. She informs her that she and Lucky Spencer think at least 5 people have been murdered by Cyrus Renaud. And until someone stops him, he won't stop killing. Spoilers for General Hospital, Elizabeth Webber. Cyrus is currently seated in the cabin in the woods that was once Dr. Austin Gatlin Holt's. On General Hospital, his murder remains unsolved. However, it now appears that Cyrus was the one who killed him. He's at the table this week, filling a syringe with digitalis, his go-to-murder weapon. Later, when Elizabeth opens her home's door and sees Cyrus Renaud standing there, she is in a scary situation. Elizabeth stops dead in her tracks when she sees how terrifying he appears. Additionally, this week at General Hospital, Doctors Isaiah Gannon and Portia Robinson battle to preserve a life. And Elizabeth is probably the one. Since his debut in 2020, Jeff Kober's character Cyrus Renaud has been a powerful force in Port Charles. Cyrus, a drug lord with a facade of charity, has skillfully maneuvered circumstances to integrate himself into the community, frequently while posing as a good guy. His recent attempts to volunteer at Turning Woods and General Hospital were calculated attempts to gain legitimacy and control over the town's medical facilities. But when these efforts were unsuccessful, bitterness and a desire for vengeance grew. Rebecca Herbst portrays Elizabeth Webber, a devoted nurse at General Hospital with a long history in Port Charles. Elizabeth, who is well known for her moral strength and unflinching commitment to her patients, has frequently found herself at conflicts with those who jeopardize the integrity of her workplace and the welfare of her loved ones. She has been a major obstacle to Cyrus's plans because of her professional and personal resistance to his infiltration of the hospital's activities. The argument breaks out. The tension between Elizabeth and Cyrus boiled out during a covert meeting in the hospital hallways. Enraged by his exclusion from voluntary work and the decline in his power, Cyrus tried to scare Elizabeth into complying. He cornered her in a remote spot, his expression alternating between barely veiled menace and pretended sympathy. Cyrus started off by saying, "It's disheartening to see my genuine efforts to contribute to this community met with such resistance," in an inauthentic tone. Elizabeth remained calm and looked him in the eye without flinching. "Your genuine efforts are a facade, Mr. Renaud. We both know the turmoil you've inflicted on this town." Cyrus's face briefly lit up with annoyance, but he quickly covered it up with a chilly grin. "Perception can be a tricky thing, Nurse Webber. I wonder how your loved ones would perceive any unfortunate events that might befall them due to misplaced defiance." Despite the looming peril, Elizabeth's determination remained unwavering. "If you think intimidation will deter me, you're gravely mistaken. This hospital, this town, won't bend to your will." Cyrus's patience wore thin as his eyes narrowed. "Bravery is commendable, but foolishness? That has consequences. Implications and consequences." This altercation marks a turning point in Port Charles's power structure. Even when such disobedience puts people in direct danger, Elizabeth's unwavering opposition represents the community's will to fend against outside dangers. Her bravery acts as a motivator and an inspiration, inspiring people to oppose Cyrus's activities. For Cyrus, this experience emphasizes how difficult it is to rule over a group of people who are bonded by allegiance and a common past. His failure to subdue Elizabeth not only defeats his short-term goals, but also reveals weaknesses in his coercive and manipulative tactics. He runs the danger of inciting the town's citizens to rebel against him and weakening his control over Port Charles the more he uses overt threats. The more comprehensive background. Tensions in Port Charles are rising as a result of this altercation. A deliberate attempt has been made to weaken Cyrus's power as a result of his recent acts, which have alienated important individuals and organizations. Elizabeth's participation in this resistance is representative of a larger town-wide campaign to restore autonomy and guarantee the security of its residents. Furthermore, Elizabeth's personal stakes are very high. In the past, Port Charles's underworld wars have caught her family and friends in the crossfire. She not only demonstrates her own agency by confronting Cyrus, but she also makes it abundantly evident that the community will not give in to fear. Port Charles's Angel of Death. Introduced as a former prisoner who is now a hospital administrator, Cyrus Renault uses psychological manipulation and institutional access as weapons to start a reign of terror at General Hospital. Digitalis poisoning, which reflects his self-righteous illusion of purifying Port Charles through death justice, is the central element of his murderous plot, which takes place between late 2024 and early 2025. Reasons and approach. A poisonous mixture of narcissism and supposed martyrdom is the root of Cyrus's grudge. He pursues people he believes to be morally reprehensible, such as Brad Cooper, Sam McCall, and Dex Heller, after being barred from both General Hospital and the Turning Woods Care Facility. His usage of digitalis, a heart drug that has been converted into a weapon, represents his distorted belief in using medical precision to balance sins. For example, he uses his understanding of hospital procedures to avoid detection by poisoning Michael Corinthos' 4 bags and then sneaking a fast-acting toxin into Brad's drink. During a Valentine's Day soiree at the Savoy in February 2025, his plots intensify as he hides in the shadows with syringes and a menacing stare. His careful preparation is exposed during a confrontation with Jocelyn Jacks in his hiding place. He has vials of digitalis on hand, tampers with security systems, and frames people to deflect suspicion. Downfall and psychological warfare. Cyrus's psychological strategies are reminiscent of traditional soap opera villainy. In order to destabilize his foes, he weaponizes familial ties, for example, by taking advantage of Portia Robinson's mistrust of Brad, and gaslights his victims, such as by accusing Brad of the killing 6. But his conceit proves to be deadly. In an act of poetic justice, Selena Wu, Brad's aunt and a formidable drug lord, poisons Brad and then uses his own signature drug, digitalis, to inject Cyrus in retaliation. This storyline criticizes institutional carelessness by highlighting how susceptible healthcare facilities are to insider threats through Cyrus's skill at manipulating hospital systems. Selena's plot to bring him down also emphasizes the show's central theme of family devotion, triumphing over institutional corruption. Cyrus Danzer in Cyrus, the county line cannibal, the mind of a serial killer. Cyrus Danzer represents unadulterated, primal horror in sharp contrast to Renault's premeditated malice. This 2010 thriller, which blends slasher clichés with psychological nuance, was directed by Mark Vadek and presents Cyrus as the result of trauma and social neglect. The monster's beginnings. A failing farm, financial collapse, and learning of his wife's adultery set the stage for Cyrus's spiral into violence. After killing her and their newborn child in a fit of wrath, he and a friend start selling roadkill burgers, which are produced from human flesh and serve as a macabre allegory for capitalism's brutal grind. He exhibits both pragmatism and a nihilistic rejection of morality in his cannibalism. With journalist Maria interviewing Cyrus's boyhood friend Emmett, the movie uses a nonlinear narrative. Emmett's eerie monologues blur the distinction between victim and offender by exposing Cyrus's violent childhood and progressive dehumanization. Fear as a display. Cyrus employs ruthlessly theatrical tactics. He abducts people, tortures them in a barn, and then performs their deaths for the public to witness. For instance, in a scenario reminiscent of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, he murders a fugitive lady and embalms a bound man alive to threaten Maria. Despite being more subdued than in most splatter movies, the film's gore emphasizes the banality of evil and unnerves rather than shocks. Director Vadek grounds Cyrus's fiction in real-world pathology by contrasting these deeds with interviews with experts analyzing the behavior of serial killers. This narrative decision challenges social complicity. Until Maria's research compels accountability, Cyrus's community ignores disappearances. Comparative study, isolation, retaliation, and power. Although both Cyruses enjoy dominance, the scope and significance of their stories differ. Dynamics of power. Renault, reflecting criticisms of bureaucratic corruption, Renault uses institutional authority to carry out his mission. Danzer gets power from physical strength and fear, which are aspects of primal dominance. His roadside stall represents the commodification of human life under predatory capitalism. Marginalization and isolation. Renault's God complex is fueled by his exclusion from society after serving time in prison. He views himself as a cleaner of Port Charles's transgressions. Due to his rural poverty and family betrayal, Danzer becomes isolated and unnoticed until his crimes become more serious. Legacy and retaliation. The idea of karmic justice, evil undone by familial ties, is furthered by Renault's death at Selena's hands in General Hospital. Danzer's unsolved destiny, which is meant to encourage imitations, is a somber critique of the public's infatuation with actual crime. Cultural analysis, the significance of Cyrus. The name Cyrus is used in both stories to denote corrupted authority. Their tales reveal societal fears. Healthcare mistrust. Concerns about institutional malfeasance are stoked by Renault's exploitation of medical systems. Rural decay. The farm-to-cannibalism arc in Danzer is a reflection of the actual economic desperation in forgotten villages. Media voyeurism. Maria's inquiry in Cyrus reflects the moral conundrums faced by true crime podcasts, which capitalize on tragedy for the benefit of the general audience.